Hello, everybody. So happy to be back with you live from Los Angeles. This is your host, young Brando, and we are going to jump right in, almost right away, into the exquisite, was it exceptional, exclusive timepieces, Monaco Legend Auction. Um, we have covered some of the watches, and you know how this works. It is basically, um, as always, been I really do my own thing, right? I kind of go through the lots, not one by one, but certainly according to my own schedule, so to speak. Um, but you can always interrupt me, send in the lot number, and I'll be more than happy to discuss it for you. And of course, if you send it in with a super chat, certainly I will be able to catch up with it sooner than later. So we are going to start warming up as always by looking at some of the things that I've shared on my Instagram. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, but we are going to look at some very interesting pieces, some that I wasn't expecting to see, some that I didn't really expect to see in this particular context. Derek Rose was in the Emirates, in Abu Dhabi specifically, watching the Philadelphia 76ers versus New York Knicks. And he was also celebrating his 37th birthday. And I know that he likes watches and he has some cool pieces in the collection, but I really wasn't expecting to see him with a Reverso. So it was quite a nice surprise. And this is probably their hot release, hot off the presses at Watches and Wonders 2025. And it was the first time after a long time that a Reverso was presented on a bracelet again, and it's a pretty special one in the Milanese style, mesh bracelet. Okay, I can't unbutton my stupid sleeve. I'm starting to sweat as well, so this is becoming rather unpleasant. Let's just pull it up like that. And this is a piece that Gégé Lecoutre playfully calls hors déco because it is a piece that is fully executed in gold, in their favorite shade of gold, which is 18 karat 5N pink gold, with a bracelet that was made for this, very supple, very comfortable to wear, and a bracelet that was crafted by specific artisans again, from two long threads that are woven together. The dial itself has a golden look. As far as I know, Gégé Lecoutre JLC saves real gold dials to their Grand Complication pieces. So probably this is a golden dial. It is in the 4N shade, so somewhere between yellow gold and pink gold, enough to give it a distinction from the rest of the material. And it is also in its texture, grené finish, like a grained textured finish, burgundy markings for both the seconds subdial and the railroad track style minutes. It's really a beautiful piece, and it looks great on the wrist too. Again, a nice chunk of precious metal, but really refined in all its details. And I think it's bound to attract some attention, specifically because bracelet watches or dress style bracelet watches especially have been in vogue recently, as people are shifting ever so slightly away from the sports watch look, even as they don't want to give up on the comfort of wearing a bracelet watch. So certainly there's room for pieces like this, from Rolex's new 1908 with the Settimo bracelet to Patek's Golden Ellipse with that beautiful chain style bracelet made by Velendorf. And in terms of the price point, this piece is somewhere in between those two. So quite interesting. Tim G, thank you for being here. And one you see it, thank you for being here as well. Thanks for reminding everyone to upvote as well. There's, again, a very humble goal of 5 super chats of $5 or more, which will carry the stream at least until midnight. So if you're interested in that, please feel free to contribute. And again, I've just posted the link to the auction we are looking at. Easily, it can get back to you in terms of a wealth of information about the particular watch that you choose and identify by the lot number. Jason Blum, the founder and CEO of Blumhouse Productions. I sometimes forget how Americans pronounce these names. Is it Bloom or Blum? I don't know. Anyway, we're interested in watches anyways, but he has most certainly, over the last decade and a half, redefined the horror genre with supernatural themes and low budget productions that aim for maximum effect. And he is wearing a watch that sort of, embodies that ideal as well. Rolex Milgauss, now completely discontinued, has long been discontinued with this white dial version, I think since 2016, is precisely that. It is one of the most unassuming Rolexes, but also in terms of these pumpkin adjacent orange shades, it is certainly an enthusiast's piece, so to speak. Obviously, there's a very specific and I think legitimate reason for discontinuing the Milgauss on Rolex's part. At the end of the day, we are in the age of amagnetic movements with silicon components especially, and it feels, especially for a brand that wants to project this idea of being on the vanguard of technical development, a watch like Milgauss that was an engineer's watch, a scientific watch, so to speak, that came out in the mid-century for resisting electromagnetic fields, with a rather primitive but ultimately very effective technique of establishing a Faraday cage using a soft iron inner case. For that reason, it also has an interesting heft to it as well, which is one reason people liked it. Of course, people still preferred, for the most part, the green crystal versions, especially the so-called Z Blue dial, but even the black dial with the green crystal. And those were the last two variants that lasted until the model was completely discontinued in 2023, just a couple of years ago. And not coincidentally, I think Rolex brought it back, brought the Milgauss back into the lineup back in 2007, which roughly coincided with the completion of CERN's Large Hadron Collider. So any developments with CERN in the future perhaps can spark a return of the Milgauss. I have to say, having visited the new Rolex boutique a number of times on Rodeo Drive here, which until Rolex completes the boutique, the New York City boutique at their headquarters, remains the biggest Rolex boutique in the States. Their imagery in certain parts of the boutique incorporates this Thunderbolt seconds hand, which can mean any number of things, of course, but it certainly means that Rolex hasn't given up on the legacy of the Milgauss. That's for sure. So expect it to come back when there's a good reason for it. And as Rolex is expanding within its men's lineup, specifically watches that incorporate silicon components, especially the Siloxy hairspring that does not require a Breguet overcoil. As we are going through these Instagram posts, please feel free to hit the like on them. If you're not following me already on Instagram, do so. Give it a few likes, a few comments whenever you feel so inclined. Engagement is our daily bread on social media. So anything you can do in terms of sharing the links on YouTube, for Instagram, it really returns to me in some way. So I really do appreciate it. And all of that is absolutely for free. And if it comes out of the goodness of your heart, it's great. If you want to help out in other ways, again, that is very important as well. And YouTube provides you a number of ways, and I outline some others in the video description as well. We're looking at Naz, who, on the heels of a successful bid to open a casino in Queens, was in Las Vegas. It is actually an expansion in the Resorts World Queens at what people call the Aqueduct, which was a racing track, I think, historically. And there's already a casino with video slot machines, I think, within that Resorts World, but it will be like a $1 billion or billions of dollars worth expansion that will make it into a real casino with all sorts of live tables and all kinds of other action. And it was a big triumph, of course, for Naz, especially since around the same time Jay-Z's bid, or the bid backed by Jay-Z for a Times Square casino, was rejected. And I think, like, that's of course the clickbait, that's the headline. The two bids don't really have much to do with each other. Honestly, as someone who has lived through the transformation of Times Square when I was in New York, it's already too much. It's already saturated, oversaturated with tourism and all kinds of nonsense. The argument can be, of course, why not take it to its logical conclusion? but I think it would be too much at the center of the city to have a casino. So I understand the New York officials deciding not to move forward with something like that, and awarding something in Queens where it's already in its dedicated space, and not really getting in the way of anyone or anything else. Uh, Nas was in Vegas for the opening of Caught Korean Steakhouse at the Venetian, and he's toasting there with Simon Kim. And Nas is wearing the Patek Philippe Nautilus flyback chronograph in 18 karat pink gold, 5980, pardon me, line 1, R-001. Beautiful, modern, sporty chronograph. Great piece. Is that opening as well, Ken? Is that for sure? Has that gone through? Has it been approved? This was a great discovery for me, and it's huge, by the way. Instagram now has AI translations for its reels between 4 languages: English, Spanish, Portuguese, and Hindi for now. I'm sure they're going to expand it, but that's already a lot. And it's in between all these languages, right? If you make a reel um, in Spanish, you can basically use uh, Meta AI to automatically translate it. I mean, it's major. But when Adam Mosseri, the Instagram head, was introducing these, he was wearing a beautiful watch that caught my attention almost immediately by its distinctive case shape, and took me just a second to identify, again, because it is so beautiful, so distinct, and so in line with his style. Because truly, Adam has been very consistently interested in vintage, but also mostly neo vintage, I should say, gold pieces that have the horological cachet. And it doesn't surprise me one bit that he has this uh, big boy watch, Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar Chronograph 3970 ER, second series. E stands for étanche, for the waterproof case that has been introduced with the screw down case back with the second series. And of course, R is for rose, that particular shade of gold in French. And this is a closer look at an example that my friend Eric Wind has previously sold at Wind Vintage. Of course, a second series as well. For me, I actually like the dial furniture of the third and fourth series, incidentally. Those obus, or rather bullet shaped, multifaceted indices, the straight pencil hands. I like that modern look a little more, but there's no denying that the first and second series, with its vintage charm and the similarity of the case design with the ever so popular 2499, has always been, I wanted to say, more popular and more desirable. And also because it's an earlier example, it's more rare, so on and so forth. I do have to say, I also love about the second series, the typewriter style typography on the calendrical wheels here, which also match the fonts on the dial, on the rest of the dial. So that is always very, very cool. That's Adam Mossery, head of Instagram, wearing the Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar chronograph. Oz, what's up, man? Cool, cool. I hope Naz is involved in that too. I love seeing Naz win. What can I say? This was completely a random find for me. I was looking for something else, but I was really happy to find this. This is Willy Weber. He was a manager mostly of motorsports drivers, but also some supermodels as well in his time. But of course, most famously, he was the manager who launched Michael Schumacher's career. And he, along with Flavio Briatore, of course, within that circle, they always had some of the greatest watches on their wrists. And over the years, I've been really happy to discover and share on Instagram some of the beautiful pieces they were wearing. But this places them as a very early adopter of one of the most important movements, you might say, certainly chronograph movements of the 21st century. Of course, it was launched right before the turn into the 21st century in 1999. It is the stuff of the legend that they had that large model of the movement of L951-1 at a relatively small booth that they shared with JLC and IWC at the Basel Fair. And that Stern actually came and inspected himself in person that model and looked at the watch too, and had to go back to the drawing board because Patek had just introduced the 5070, which of course was built on the Lemania base, which was too small for that rather enlarged case, and just not really at the same level with this watch that these German quote-unquote upstarts had produced just in the 5th year of their official existence, right? After all, reviving Lange was part of Günther Blümlein's greater vision, maybe even a pet project of his in terms of launching a real German high horology powerhouse. He did that in collaboration with Walter Lange, the heir to the Lange family name. They got to work right in the wake of the German reunification, came out with those legendary quartets of models in 1994, and it took them another 5 years to come up with this chronograph that would possibly change the game at that level of high horology forever. And it certainly puts Arango Zune on the map as a specialist chronograph maker. We're talking about the Arango Zune Datograph flyback chronograph in platinum, in that classic look, 39 millimeter. This is before the up and down, so you have the grand date, so to speak, the oversized 2-digit expression of the date at 12 o'clock, and then just the 2 chronograph registers, no power reserve indicator. The case is much slimmer. The diameter is also shrunken, smaller. Here's a look at that legendary movement It's been described due to its multi-layered architecture as a kind of horological landscape. Certainly, it is like a lexicon of finishing techniques. But what I really like about it is, again, uh, the colorfulness that it has within what is otherwise seemingly a very non-ostentatious aesthetic, right? You have the champagne tint of the chronograph bridges in German silver with a ribbed finish. You have the highly polished chronograph works in stainless steel. You have the heat blued screws, the rubies that are set in polished gold chaton. You have the freehand engraved balance cock with a lovely swan neck regulator. Just a stunning watch, inside and out. Great looking piece and hard to miss it, right? You know, that the invisible triangle that is formed between one, the oversized date and the two chronograph registers, and two, between the three Roman numerals that are applied at 2, 6, and 10 o'clock. In platinum, of course, the original reference 403035. C3D now. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Thank you. Well, we are only 4 steps away from our goal, thanks to 3D now. I already appreciate the likes that you have given me. Thank you so much for all your support. And I see the likes coming in even stronger now too. And it means the world. Thank you. Okay, next. This is an oldie but goodie. The photograph is from a few years back when the two Irish actors were enjoying some rugby together or watching rugby together at a pub. Saoirse Ronan and Paul Mescal. And Paul Mescal, being a Cartier ambassador, is wearing a vintage Cartier piece, a Cartier Fabergé, people like to call it, in 18 karat yellow gold. It is so called because of its rounded tonneau-like shape, lugless, but it's kind of an oval look. And I guess it was somehow reminiscent of those famous jeweled eggs that were, pardon me, made by the famous jeweler for the Russian imperial family. And, you know, overall, I think what I like about this as a larger trend is how more and more brand ambassadors have embraced vintage styles, right? And for me, as a collector who focuses mostly on vintage and neo-vintage pieces, of course, there's something of a gratification for me, of a redemption for me. Everyone likes getting some kudos for one's taste, but I think more broadly, I like seeing these ambassadors, even when they're in a transactional and commercial relationship with a brand, to explore their tastes a little more liberally. Um, they're doing something more than just serving as a billboard in flesh and blood for whatever the brand has just released, right? So I like it when a Rolex testimony has a deep vintage Rolex collection that they actually wear. Um, I love it when some of these Cartier guys are actually wearing these sorts of vintage pieces uh, alongside some of the new releases, some of the freshly released pieces that they also wear. So I find that pretty cool overall. This is Paul Mescal again, wearing a Cartier Fabergé in 18 karat yellow gold. And of course, the two of them are going to play Paul and Linda McCartney in the upcoming Beatles biopic. So it was the right time to bring it back out. This has already made the news, but I wanted to take a bite out of it since I was able to source some new photographs. We are looking at uh, Timothée Chalamet with a buzz cut back in his hometown, New York, and in a uniform that screams New York and expresses some sort of fall vibes. PSL season is upon us again. At the same time, he's wearing a black leather jacket, which is, of course, very New York, especially if you have pseudo intellectual aspirations. You have to wear something like this. It makes you look both that and something of a renegade at the same time. Apparently, this one is Givenchy by Sarah Burton. He is carrying his Apple AirPod Max, I think they call these. He has a mini Kelly, an Hermes mini Kelly slung across his shoulder, and he's wearing a new Urban Jurgensen piece, the UJ2, with a custom orange strap that matches the bag. And of course, orange is a beautiful shade for fall, which you can kind of see in this setting a little better, perhaps. Again, we have seen him along, in the last couple of years with a lot of very petite Cartier pieces. And I've always thought that there was some sort of a relationship there between him and Cartier. But hey, UJ may have snatched him, and that's kind of great. Actually, I wasn't expecting Urban Jurgensen to come back this strong, because it was, even at its quote unquote most popular, it was still a very niche brand. But the Rosenfield family that is behind it, of course, heading it together with Kari Voutilainen as the horological mind, has certainly put behind it a very powerful marketing strategy. I think the kind of materials they have been sharing on their social media, the design of their website is very refreshing, very beautiful, and obviously getting a watch on the wrist of one of the hottest young actors in Hollywood is also a very wise move. I really like this. Ooh, take care, Humphrey. That's cool. Good for you. Good for you. The last one, I mean, if you wait until the last one, it might never come. So the earlier, the better. Maybe you will spur on some others to contribute. But thank you at any rate for thinking of me, and please hit the like button. The last of our Instagram prelude, the rapper Ghana, the self-proclaimed drip influencer. This is just a testament of how a pink gold Nautilus has become kind of a standard issue in the rap scene these days, whether it is the chronographs that Future, Nas, and Freddie Gibbs wear, or pieces like this, the 5712, which is one of my favorite variants of the Nautilus. You can see it everywhere, basically. Ghana was actually in the UK. He was in attendance for the England-Wales friendly game at Wembley, and in fact, personally presented the Man of the Match award. You see what I'm really focused on, to Bukayo Saka himself. By the way, Bukayo Saka has the exact same watch, though I don't think he was wearing it on that encounter. I posted about Saka and his Nautilus 5712 Line 1R before. Look, it's not going to be here forever. I hope they don't completely discontinue it, because the stainless steel variant is already gone, as you know, and the 50th anniversary of the Nautilus is upon us. So you never know. They might have a whole new reset for the entire lineup. Or maybe they might just leave the jumbo there and nothing else, right? They might just have a very limited release of it in stainless steel or platinum or both, and be done with it, and just keep the white gold for very special customers. Who knows? But I certainly appreciate this, both due to its asymmetric dial layout, but also its micro rotor movements, which keeps it quite slim and sleek, even though it has the added complication compared to the jumbo. All right, it is about that time, so I will post the link once again. For the Monaco Legend Auction. Feel free to send in any of the lots with the number. Whether I'm skipping over them, I may have covered them in the first session. Feel free to send in the number. I'll be happy to go back, explore it in some depth. Lot number 7, these pieces are actually quite desirable in the world of vintage Calatrava. You're looking at, again, lot number 7, which is a Patek Philippe anti-magnetic Calatrava, the 2570 in 18 karat yellow gold, 35 millimeters in diameter, seconds on the subdial at 6, Arabic numerals at the rest of the quarters. That beautiful script. This is also, again, for its time, quite revolutionary, one of those mid-century scientific or amagnetic, anti-magnetic watches with a beautiful case design, which seems nicely preserved, both in terms of the chamfers and hallmarks. Very handsome case. And here, posed on its archival extract. You're looking at the Patek amagnetic Calatrava, retailed by Somatzi. Of course, that retailer signature makes it also even more desirable. This is the 2570 line 1, which distinguishes itself from the look of its crown, but certainly with its elegant downturned lugs from the other examples of the 2570. Lot 7 with a pre-auction estimate in the range between 50,000 to 100,000 in euro. We're looking at the exclusive Timepieces auction. As a live event, it will take place on the 18th and 19th of October in Monaco, Monte Carlo. And of course, they're already taking absentee bids. As always, I don't work for them. I don't necessarily vouch for them. Always, when you have the opportunity, seek to see these pieces in person before you bid on them. If not, try to send a representative, whether it's an expert like me or a friend of yours, to see them in person. In the absence of that, if you can't do that, you should always contact them directly. They should be able to arrange some sort of virtual viewing session via video conference with you, or they can possibly at least send you more detailed pictures and answer your questions in some detail about the condition of the piece, anything else you should know. Always tread with care and never hesitate to set, very, very clear boundaries, of course, in terms of how much you're willing to bid on a watch. This is a very beautiful piece by Alain Gonzone. The Cabaret is one of those rectangular Art Deco style pieces that remain a thing of the past for Lange. I think, of course, part of it is the fact that they are part of the same group as Cartier and Jaeger-LeCoultre, which have very strong products in that segment between the Tank and the Reverso. But also, I think even if they were perhaps elsewhere, they might not want to compete with those. But you can see that Lange can do something other than austere and Spartan, especially in this example of the Arcade, which has, of course, the distinctive elements on the dial for Lange, the oversized date, the alpha style hands, the balanced dial design, which follows the rectangular lines of the case so beautifully. but you have a level of gem setting that, of course, is hardly found elsewhere in Lange's catalog. And this piece is entirely executed in white gold, including its bracelet. The rectangular center of the dial is encrusted with diamonds, and the entire and it's framed with a lacquered periphery, so to speak. The case itself is set with diamonds, including its lugs and flanks, and so is the 7-link bracelet. As always, the movement itself is a stunner. Designed and fitted to the rectangular case of the arcade, of the cabaret. The 3/4 plates, the freehand engraved balance cock, the swan neck regulator. The bridges have taken on perhaps an even stronger tint over the decades, that yellowish champagne-like hue that contrasts very favorably with the white gold case back that frames it. A gem set bracelet version, an opulent version of the Alain Gonzone Cabaret at lot 16. The pre-auction estimates sets the value of this watch somewhere between 60,000 to 120,000 euro. Lot 20 is a beautiful, beautiful, and very rare piece. 5004, the reference 5004, is probably one of the masterpieces of the neo-vintage era. It is the split seconds counterpart to the 3970, which we have just seen on Adam Mosseri's wrist. This is a Patek Philippe perpetual calendar split seconds chronograph, which at 36 millimeter has a very strong wrist presence, both to the added thickness and heft due to its more complex, more complicated movements, and also that extra protrusion at its crown with that rattrapante button integrated into it. This is, of course, the ever so elusive and absolutely aspirational stainless steel version of it. Mind you, this piece already is excessively rare in any configuration. Made for about 18 years, yes, but only about one example is said to have left the manufacturer per month within that date range. So we are talking about 216 pieces, less than 220, let's say, very roughly. And out of those, only a handful have been made in stainless steel. Some say it was about 50 examples, but only 10 of them have surfaced so far publicly. Pardon me. Of course, much like its counterpart 3970, it's built on the Lemania CH27 movement, but of course with an additional split seconds module. Signature Patek Philippe, of course, with its finishing, regulation, and assembly, bears the hallmark of Geneva on its balance bridge. And this rare piece, actually on its exhibition case back, carries an additional hallmark, Oscar Strauss Schaefer, who is, of course, a very esteemed collector of Patek Philippe pieces, who has been photographed with some very interesting Patek Philippe watches over time, chairman of Rivulet Capital. It, of course, arrives as an absolute full set, bought from the Geneva Salon in the June of 2012. Could be yours in about a week at the Monaco Legend exclusive Timepieces auction in Monte Carlo. This is lot number 20, Oscar Schaefer's Patek Philippe perpetual calendar split seconds chronograph in stainless steel, 5004A. The estimated value of the piece is between €500,000 to €1 million. I like how realistically they set a lot of these pre-auction estimates, actually. I kind of appreciate it. Lot 25, again, one of the most esteemed pieces of that neo-vintage era, the CPCP monopusher chronograph in Cartier's distinctive tortue shape. Of course, a variation of the classic barrel or tonneau shape, but with its tortoise look, it takes on that extra moniker, tortue. It comes from one of the most interesting areas of late by Cartier, the Collection Privée Cartier Paris, that line of watches that has successfully conjugated Cartier's archival designs with high horological expertise, both in-house and beyond. And of course, this piece also has the fingerprints of some of the signature makers, some of the most important proper names in the recent history of independent watchmaking. The movement was conceived and designed by François-Paul Jean and Denis Flageolet when they were working collectively in Technique Horloger Appliquée, THA, Vienna Altair was another one of their collaborators, but I think for caliber MC045, it was only Jean and Flageolet. This is again a very rarefied example because it was much less common to find this piece in platinum than the various shades of gold. And this one, in fact, also comes with a matching bracelet. And of course, it's a single button chronograph, so all the functions of the watch is integrated onto the crown, which is also your chronograph pusher. Start, stop, and reset. Everything is handled right there with a multifaceted sapphire topping off that octagonal crown. And lovely silver dial or silvered dial with a guilloche finish, the rosette pattern emanating from the imaginary center of the dial. Roman numerals, secret Cartier signature at 7, 30-minute totalizer at 3 o'clock, continuous running seconds at 9, heat-tempered cornflower blue stainless steel hands for maximum legibility. This is the Cartier CPCP Tortue Monopoussoir at lot 25 with an estimated value set in the range between 50,000 to 100,000 in US dollars. We have fallen short of our goal again. As always, I'm not going to hide that I'm disappointed, but what can I do? What can I do? I appreciate any kind of support, but again, it's becoming harder and harder to provide you with so much quality content, doing so much work for essentially free and without getting much of any return back. And much as I appreciate the encouraging messages in the chat, in the DMs, and in comments, those, of course, don't pay the bills, don't pay the rent. So any help that you can send my way is much appreciated. And I don't ask for it for free. Obviously, I return it with a wealth of knowledge in watches for you. Lot number 29, one of the most collectible, iconic tool watches by Rolex. This is the double red Sea Dweller, reference 1665, with a Mark III double red dial. The Sea Dweller, especially within this aesthetic, of course, is a more specialized, a more advanced diving watch with the now iconic helium escape valve, of course, that is integrated to the left flank of the case at 9 o'clock. The very early examples, which were essentially prototypes, used to have a single line of red writing. That's why Rolex did the 50th anniversary version when it renewed the line with a single red writing. Later examples came with these two lines of red writing: Sea Dweller, Submariner 2000. And of course, later in the production, it was actually all white in terms of the inscriptions on the dial, which collectors call the Great Whites. Cloud Ken, thank you so much. I don't know. Maybe help me revise my image, because honestly, I am in dire need. Like I'm not lying, right? It's this is what I do full time, and I'm just hustling and grifting, and I'm doing so many things. Um, Started organizing events with brands here in Los Angeles. Had my first event, have a second one coming up. I'm trying everything, and it's gaining momentum finally. But honestly, I'm in financial dire straits, basically, right? I have very low cash flow. I don't think there is, among all the live streamers that you can count, I'm sure. I'm not going to count their names for a number of reasons. I don't think anyone needs it more than I do. And I certainly know no one works at the level that I do with the quality watch content that I provide on live streams. So thank you so much. I can't say anything more, but thank you for the input as well. Help me look like a grifter if you could, because God knows I need it. Lot number 29, Rolex Sea Dweller with a Mark III double red dial. Pre-auction estimate sets the value between 20,000 to 40,000 in US dollars. At 32, we have something like a Patek Philippe tank in pink gold with a matching bracelet. Quite large for its time period, because this comes from 1948. Let's take a look at that archival extract that is printed out here. Made in 1948, sold on February 17th, 1949. A rectangular piece, comes from a Patek retailer that was at the time at 20, number 20 Place Vendôme. .25 by 38 millimeters on a matching bracelet, which is matched probably later with the watch, because the extract doesn't state that the watch was delivered with the bracelet, but a very classic Art Deco piece. And that 7-link bracelet matches it beautifully as well, both in shade and style. Beautiful. Rare piece, lot number 32. An Art Deco piece by Patek Philippe, rectangular, from the post-war period, supplied with its archival extract and matched with an 18-karat pink gold bracelet. The pre-auction estimate is between 15,000 to 30,000 euro. Absolutely, Cloudcan. I appreciate your super chat, so I would be more than happy to look at your request, which is lot 208. You said, and you have accompanied that considered aftermarket or co-brand. Now, here's I'll present you first with the case 4. Of course, Rolex and Asprey have a long established relationship, especially in the neo-vintage era, especially in terms of watches that were bought through Asprey by many Arab rulers and other Middle Eastern elites, ordered through them with certain customization and personalization requests that were at the time much more generously, applied and attended to for select clients. But that's a bygone era, right? And we know that Rolex does not actually offer co-branding with any retailer anymore. And it certainly does not readily offer to any group of clients any sort of customizable pieces. So anything you see that is a relatively modern Rolex by Asprey is going to be an aftermarket. Of course, that doesn't completely destroy the value of the watch in my eyes, but certainly it's not as special as an original, watch that carries the Omani royal insignia and that was once retailed by Asprey. And again, those are not actually marked on the dial by Asprey. They can accompany the presentation boxes, etc. They can be accompanied with the presentation boxes and other materials that trace that origin. They can have the matching engravings on the case back, sometimes certain stock numbers inscribed again on various parts of the watches that establish that origin. However, this is not such a watch. So when it comes to these more modernized custom dial pieces that are usually Rolexes, by the way, and that are done aftermarket by Asprey, there's still one of one that you can't find elsewhere. There's still Rolex pieces bought from Asprey's, and they do carry the traces of that occasion, right? They have these sorts of case bag engravings that identify them usually as one of one. Unique dial colors that you might not be able to find elsewhere. And again, all the goodies that a Rolex watch comes with from Asprey. And here it's like it's that purplish shade of blue that makes it very special. It doesn't look like the blue dials that Rolex made for the Daytona. It has more of the look of a blurple purplish blue color that some vintage Rolex blue dial pieces, full gold bluesies especially, used to take on um, over the years. This is a 6-digit Daytona that was not born this way, that didn't leave the factory this way, but looks like a very special piece. So at the right price, which certainly won't be at an auction, for a watch and dial color you like, if it comes like this as a full set with all the accoutrements that it would have left that Asprey branch, probably London, it might be worth it. But would I go into an auction to buy a watch like this as if it were a very Rolex? I don't know. I think that's a great idea, Ken, if they kept the same factory dials with the Asprey stamping. But Rolex, that might put them in trouble with Rolex, right? It's because these kinds of pieces can be easily, they can make a case for these kinds of pieces by saying it's a customization asked by the customer, and it doesn't try to pass itself off as a piece that left the factory that way, right? That's how some of the enterprises like Artisan de Genève justify themselves. Whereas if you leave everything as is and just stamp the dial with Asprey, especially if you're a Rolex retailer, it might give the wrong impression, and it might actually anger people at Rolex and jeopardize whatever relationship you have left with the brand itself. So they probably wouldn't want to do that. You either have to leave it completely alone and sell it as any other retailer would, or you have to, customize the piece enough to justify your branding on it and the idea that it is a completely personalized piece, one of one, that isn't trying to pass itself off as something else. This is lot 207 for the Rolex Daytona, retailed by Asprey and customized by them. Reference 116508 with 18 karat gold on the matching oyster bracelet with a purplish blue dial. Estimated value is between 60,000 to 120,000 in euro. At 209, we have a very special piece. This is the precursor, actually, of the Nautilus moon phase design that we were just looking at. The reference 3712. In new old stock condition. This was a piece that came out before the 30th anniversary. So in that short time window during which it was produced, which is less than a year, and with its unique aesthetic, it became extremely collectible. Of course, it was replaced by the 5712 in 2006. And in this kind of condition, in this sort of presentation, it is certainly a very desirable piece for the right collector. Lot 209 for the Patek Philippe Nautilus moon phase with its distinctive dial configuration and subtle aesthetic differences. from the successor 5712. This is a piece that has a pre-auction estimate set between 120,000 to 240,000 euro. At lot 49, speaking of Omani pieces, you're looking at a Rolex GMT Master reference 16750, 16750. The 5-digit GMT Master. The piece carries the crest of the Omani police force at 6 o'clock. Shortat Oman Sultaniya. It has that distinctive symbol khanjar with two crossed swords, with the crown on top of it and preserved within that crest, with nice yellowish patina, or like a strong yellow patina that's fairly even, at least within the hands themselves and the markers on the dial. Classic Pepsi look, with the night hours indicated with blue and the day hours indicated with red. Yeah, there you go. That's the crest on the dial. That's lot 49, a Rolex Pepsi GMT Master, the 5-digit reference 16750, with the crest of the Omani police force. The estimated value between 50,000 to 100,000 euro. I'll take that into consideration, Ken. I'll do my best to start earlier. I can certainly do 8 in my time, which ends up being 11 Eastern time. I can certainly do 8. If I eat in front of the screen, maybe I can do 7:30. I don't know if anyone is interested in that, but I'm sure it would make for riveting content. You know, spring in Fialta, it's always suspicious to me when the patina is too even. I think The thing that is encouraging to me here is the corrosion on the hands, and the patina is actually a little different on the hands and the dial, right? There's like, it's one shade darker on the hands. And that's usually, that is the actual normal patina, by the way. A lot of the quote unquote patina that you see on vintage Rolex dials has been possibly matched by people who either have the OCD themselves or were trying to cater to buyers who might possibly look for that sort of evenly matched patina. Because at those times, we are not looking at vertical integration. We are not looking at a single manufacturer where more or less everything is produced in-house. We're looking at a situation where Rolex gets the handset from one, the dial from another maker. And both of these makers have their own tritium mix, which might not actually one-to-one match the other mix. So as they age, as they degrade, obviously they are not supposed to degrade in the same way at the exact same pace to the exact same color, right? So I think minute differences between different sets of hands and dial within even the same set of hands, that to me is actually more reassuring than seeing something that seems like perfectly matched, which this isn't. But it's quite harmonious, so I kind of like it. But yeah, overall the watch seems well preserved, but certainly doesn't look like a safe queen, to the extent that it seems like it has seen a polish or two. You know, it's not absolutely pristine. Another unique shape and interesting dress piece from Patek. Like a double-stepped bezel on a relatively oval dial. They have kind of like a picture frame look with cutouts at the corners. Overall, like a sculptural cushion shape in yellow gold, 31 by 37 millimeters. The reference number is 3629. Pardon me. The watch features an onyx stone dial, and it also has a nice cabochon at this lovely integrated and refined crown that matches the dial. Very beautiful shape. Again, a nice, well-preserved case. You can see that both from the sharpness of the lugs when seen on the back, and also the legibility of the hallmarks on the case back itself. This is lot 52 for a piece from around year 1976 by Patek Philippe. A cushion-shaped watch with a sculptural frame-like look with an onyx style, reference 3629, with an estimate set between 9,000 to 18,000 in US dollars. Cloud Can says, typically yellow pages in comics and cards lower the grade, but I wonder if patina in vintage watches lowers a grade. The standards are very inconsistent, and there's no universal scale of grading, as you know, Ken, even though there are efforts to establish something of the sort. I have to say, personally, I draw the line when there are actual signs of damage, like spider dials, for example. I don't deny that some of those damages and signs of aging can have their charm as patina, as exotic or tropical dials. That being said, I think when something can be objectively described as damage, like a cracked dial, which they started calling spider just to make it more attractive, I think you have to draw the line there, right? Again, I don't deny anyone the pleasure of owning up to it, claiming it, and loving it, but when the dealers are selling it, I think they shouldn't be allowed to ask a premium for it. Right? A spider dial late series 5513 by definition should cost less than a lacquered dial that preserves its pristine look as it was produced. So we are looking at a so-called Jean-Claude Kelly, which is the nickname that the Rolex Dato Compacts pieces have universally been given because of the association to longtime Rolex testimony and Olympic skier by that name. This is a beautiful 18 karat pink gold example of the reference 6036, and it also carries the retailer signature of Serpico y Laino of Caracas, Venezuela, which is one of those time-honored Rolex retailers whose signature on the dials is very deeply respected. Also on Patek too, by the way. Very beautiful and useful combination of a full calendar and a triple register chronograph. Built on the base of Valjoux caliber 72. Oyster case. Again, nicely preserved overall. Beautiful two-tone dial with a pointer date on the periphery. Single Arabic numeral at 12. Multifaceted round markers for the rest, 30-minute totalizer at 3, 12-hour counter at 6, and continuous running seconds at 9, with 2 wickets for the day of the week and month. I'm guessing Lun is for lunes, so it's a Spanish calendar since it's retailed by Serpico y Laino. Beautiful multifaceted alpha style hands, and that blue pointer, blue arrow for the date. Ostensibly its original presentation case as well, which is a nice little detail. And the Serpico y Laino signature on the dial. This is lot number 54 of the exclusive timepieces. A Rolex Dato Compax in pink gold, reference 6036, once retailed with Serpico y Laino, and it features a two-tone silver dial that has the signature of that retailer, and the piece has an estimated value between 500,000 to 1 million. Absolutely, and it also features a full calendar. So in that case, it's different from the so-called pre-Daytonas as well. All right, we have entered the last hour of the broadcast, so please hit the like button. That's plenty of recognition for me for today. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you who has especially sent in a super chat, the C3D Now and Cloud Ken. It goes a long way, right? I have to find a way to keep the lights on, so very much appreciated. You're looking at a Patek Philippe perpetual calendar with a retrograde date indicator. They still have some variations of this in the lineup, especially in the stunning iteration that I just shared on my shorts in YouTube, namely the pardon me, namely the 6159G with that smoked sapphire crystal. But of course, this is a much more classical iteration of the same concept. The 5050J, 35 millimeters in diameter, in 18 karat yellow gold, a beautiful black dial, attired in Breguet numerals applied, a Breguet handset that matches the gold shade, sweep center seconds, a retrograde hour hand that shows a retrograde pointer that shows the date on a scale that is in the form of a downward facing crescent, and 3 wickets at 12 o'clock right above the signature, and under that scale for the date is the leap year indicator at Roman numeral 2. At 3 o'clock you have the month, at 9 o'clock you have the day of the week. Beautiful pearl track, those applied and polished gold dots that alternate with a larger index every 5th minute. This is the 5050J, again in wonderful condition with an exhibition case back that proudly bears the Geneva hallmark, as is the case with pre-2009 examples of Patek. The condition is well preserved, if not pristine. The watch does come with its certificate of origin that dates it back to October 23rd, 2008, bought from the Geneva Salon. Comes with the additional solid case back, the original hang tag, the product literature, and the leather wallet that holds it. 5050J-024. The Patek Philippe perpetual calendar with retrograde dates. Of course, moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock. The pre-auction estimate for the watch is 100,000 to 200,000 in euro. I'm already quite old, actually. I'm not getting any younger. I should find maybe a new nickname. But I'm waiting for the Brando estate to come after me first. You know, I that will make me feel important and enough to change my name. Lot 57. We have looked at one of the examples of this Ulysse Nardin earlier. Classic dress piece, Ulysse Nardin San Marco. There was an example at lot 3 that came with a matched bracelet. This is yellow gold presented on a strap from a 25-piece limited edition dedicated to the Matterhorn mountain in Switzerland. The Clausenet enamel dial both depicts that peak and has this chalet hoisting the Swiss flag on it as well. It's numbered on the dial, number 10 out of a 25-piece series. Of course, Clausenet enamel, explained very quickly, is a dial that features a micro painting whose outline is traced with hairline golden threads and filled in with powdered enamel of specific colors that take a number of firings in a kiln to set just right. And it is exceedingly rare, especially due to the rejection rates. Not an incredibly time efficient or a cost efficient process for that matter. I don't think a lot of these artisanal crafts are, but the end result is quite beautiful. And here you are looking at a 37 millimeter classic dress watch that features a beautiful Swiss scenery by Ulysse Nardin, fluted lugs, an oxidized case that gives you a certain sense of warmth, a beautifully signed crown by Ulysse Nardin, their classic anchor at 12 o'clock, beautiful three-hander with sweep center seconds. And here's the case back, Ulysse Nardin San Marco. with a nice tank buckle. Number 10 out of a 25-piece series dedicated to the Swiss Alps writ large, but specifically to the Matterhorn. Lot 57 will start without reserve, and the estimated value is set between 10,000 to 20,000 euro. That's a good point. Cloud Ken says, I feel like it's better to sell leather strap watches via auction rather than yourself. Yeah, don't sell them in the summer. That's one rule, right? It sounds cheesy and maybe too commonsensical to hold any water, but trust me, I mean, dress watches sell even worse in the summer, where people are, at least in the US, right? You know, that no, I'm not going to get into a whole northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere thing, but honestly, in our summer, these watches sell even worse. Even selling them is even more difficult, um, because people certainly tilt towards bracelet watches, sports watches in the summer, even if it is just an affect. You know, even if it is not necessarily due to an intensified or increased utility. At lot 62, we have an intensified version of something we just looked at. We looked at the 5050J. That was a Patek Philippe perpetual calendar in a classic round case, beautiful watch, that also combined its gold case with a black dial. This time we have a tonneau piece that adds a chiming function into the equation. You're looking at a pink gold example of 5013, a minute repeating perpetual calendar by Patek Philippe, which also has a retrograde date indicator. The aesthetics of the dial are pretty similar, but of course, here the shape of the dial matches the shape of the case. The classic barrel shape with a railroad track for the minutes, separate subdial for the seconds, which surrounds the moon phase indicator at 6 o'clock. And as you can see, the shark fin-like slider on the left flank of the case. You have a minute repeater, which you can activate at will. What a beautiful piece. And you see that micro rotor movement with an off-center, slightly oversized micro rotor with the oscillating weight having a distinctive guilloche pattern. The balance bridge bears the hallmark of Geneva. And as you can see, which is usually the case, the governor of the chiming mechanism has a cap that bears a golden Calatrava cross on top of it. The governor is the part of the chiming mechanism that sets the pace of the chime. So you would see it, and in fact, in older mechanisms, here it's wheezing sort of as the watch chimes. This is lot 62 for the Patek Philippe 5013R. A minute repeating perpetual calendar piece by Patek Philippe in 18 karat pink gold in a tonneau shaped case, which comes with all the fixins, so to speak, solid case back for the additional heft if you like it, the pin for the pushers, the winding box, the classic wooden presentation box, all the product literature, the leather folio to carry your certificate of origin, the piece comes from 2013, even though it was first introduced in 1992. This is the 5013R at lots number 62. I think I will go for another 10 minutes, actually, before I bow out. But if you have not yet hit the like button, please do so. If you have any last minute requests, any questions, if you want to show your support, feel free to send in a super chat. If you want to support this platform in other ways, whether it is because you appreciate the work on Instagram or these live streams, please feel free to show your support here, whether it is via the ways that YouTube provides you or the ones that are described in the video description right below. I'm going to share 2 more pieces. Lot 70 is a beautiful Patek Philippe perpetual calendar that comes from a limited series of, I believe, 20 pieces. It is to celebrate the 200 years of a British retailer by the name of Boodle and Dunthorne. Here's the case back, number 6 out of a 20-piece series celebrating the 200 years of history, 1798 to 1998, from Boodle and Dunthorne. It's a Patek Philippe perpetual calendar with indicators for leap year, moon phase, and day night. 5049P. It is in platinum. Very beautiful case shape due to its subtly step bezel and downturned lugs. That black dial goes so beautifully with the platinum case. Love the obus-shaped markers, multifaceted. I think they match the slight aggression of the Dauphine hands beautifully as well. The sunken subdials that integrate the indicators for the leap year at 3 o'clock with the months around it, and the 24 hours, the day-night indicator at 9 o'clock with the day of the week around it, a black and white expression of the phases of the moon surrounded by a pointer date at 6 o'clock. Love that distinctive serif of the Patek Philippe Genève signature at 12. And look at this beautiful case. Again, you're looking at a 5049P in platinum, 35 millimeters in diameter, one of 20 pieces made to celebrate the Liverpool-based retailer Burrell and Dunthorne. Again, beautiful set. And lot 70 has a pre-auction estimated value set between 100,000 to 200,000 in euro. Lot 73, which was the watch on my thumbnail, so I left it to the last. Once again, we're looking at a piece that combines the perpetual calendar with not only a chiming function, but also with the tourbillon, as is the case with Patek. If you know the exception, feel free to state it in the chat. But Patek usually does not have a cutout on the front dial to show the tourbillon cage. It just has the inscription tourbillon with the specific movement number that goes with each distinct movement. Here you have this dial they call brune doré, kind of a golden dial with a brownish or brunette tint, like a honey color, you might also describe it. The case is rendered in platinum for the 5207. .41 millimeters in diameter, still quite wearable for what can be rightly termed a grande complication. Interesting layout at first, but I think it has a kind of subtle symmetry to it. Honestly, I'm kind of old school, you know, when there are too many aperture or wickets, as they call it in English, for the calendar functions, I get a little bit distracted, but here the layout kind of balances it out. Date at 12 o'clock. At around 1:30 you have the month. At around 10:30 you have the day of the week. At around 4:30, in a smaller cutout, you have the leap year. And at around 7:30, again, through a cutout, you have the day-night indicator and the opening, the cutout for the moon phase, which is in the form of a downward-facing crescent moon, is at 6 o'clock, surrounded by the slightly oversized subdial for the seconds. The watch has a very beautifully decorated case on its flanks, especially. The slide itself features a grip with that same pattern. And you can see on the case back the gong, the beautifully black polished stainless steel hammers for the chime. Once again, you have that special cap over the governor for the minute repeating mechanism. And at 6 o'clock, you have the tourbillon that features a batwing style open work bridge, one of my favorite designs for such a piece of architecture, such a piece of horological architecture. Love the circular Côte de Genève decorations on the bridge as well, on the bridges, I should say. And look at that spoke. Wow. It's also beautifully finished as well. You can certainly see the kinds of things that Patek can do and still does at these elevated, truly grand pieces in terms of the detailed finishing of the movements and the complexity of their architectures. I wish they at least had a line for simpler pieces, for even time-only pieces that abided by that golden standards. Because you can certainly not see something like this at the Calatrava range. The piece comes with, again, its original presentation material. And it's very important for a serious piece like this. The 5207P, the minute repeating perpetual calendar by Patek Philippe with a tourbillon escapement, with a special brune doré dial. This is lot 73. The pre-auction estimate sets the value of the watch between $500,000 to $1 million. My coverage of the Monaco Legend exclusive timepieces auction will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow night, I will do my best to start as early as I can. I'll give it a shot, right? On Sunday and Monday. Of course, I will try to do it more consistently, but Sunday and Monday are certainly days when I can do that. If you have any questions, if you have any requests, please feel free to put them in the comments. If you have followed me from Instagram or sort of came across this link or this live stream, if you're interested in watches, you will not find anything like this anywhere else on the internet, certainly not on YouTube, on a regular basis. So please subscribe and tune in. You can stay connected with me on Instagram. I'm at Young Brando here on YouTube, at young.brando on Instagram. So feel free to follow me and send me DMs there. If you want to show your support, YouTube provides a number of ways. Memberships are great for a consistent, sustained form of support. To get yourself one or to gift to others, it's a great way to support the channel and also reward yourself and others with exclusive content. There's a solid archive there, and hopefully it will see a rehaul quite soon. with your support, of course. I'll say goodbye today, but again, if you want to support the channel, which remains independent, only serving you, but also completely beholden to your support. So if you check out the video description, I outline some ways you can help. In either case, your support is well appreciated. I especially want to thank C3D Now and CloudKen for generously contributing with super chats. And to everyone else, please don't forget to hit the like button. Please don't forget to share the link on YouTube, off Instagram, with other enthusiasts, other watch collectors. It certainly goes a long way to expand the platform. So thank you again in advance. I'll certainly see you in the next one, hopefully tomorrow, hopefully earlier. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, wear and enjoy your watches. See you in the next one. Take care.